So I'll make you the host in this one, sir, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Sir, did you receive the PPT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute, sir.
Yes. I just sent it to you. The first one again.
That's okay. I could get it was there in the slides only.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
So no issues.
Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me, sir? It's clear?
Yes, sir, it's clear. We can see the PPT as well. I think you can get
Okay.
started. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure, sir. All yours.
Okay, good evening and welcome to the class on people, development and environment. As you all know, it is a part of part one paper of UGC NET exam. And, I think if you have referred more deeply, you will know they will be asking 5 questions for 10 marks from this particular part, people, development and environment. So this is more of a this unit is more of a common or general understanding about people in the country we live in, India, and the way we have been progressing, and the certain global questions that we need to answer, and how each one of these are interrelated, and so on. So we need to understand clearly where is our position, be it any country we are living in the globe, what's happening, what are the global issues, what are the global crises that's happening, and how do we take this planet forward, and so on. So this is just this is the platform at which we are looking at this paper to have that understanding. So therefore, more of watching news regularly and reading newspapers and having some overall idea on what's happening in the world is very important to answer the questions under this particular domain. So hope you're able to hear me, and then yeah, let me move forward. Let me take the chat window so that yeah. Okay. So to begin with, we need to understand the interrelationship that exists between the development and the environment. Of course, as you all know, when it comes to development, we have political developments at one side, and other physical development like the infrastructure, industries, and the basic needs that to lead a peaceful and quality human life. What are the requirements that we have, and how are we developing on those, and be it water resources, be it electricity, and so on. So all these are interconnected. If one not working, then the other will suffer. And it's not just we are discussing about it. It's later on, to understand globally what's happening with respect to the development in industrial sector, economic sector, and agricultural sector, and what's happening to our environment, etc. The two, United Nations has come out with, has proposed in the year 2000 the Millennium Development Goals, and then later on, it was there for around 15 years to, as a 15 years timeline to, meet certain goals for better living of people in the planet. Then later on, after 2015, the same Millennium Development Goals have been, looked in a different way as Sustainable Development Goals, and for the next 15 years, that is up to 2030, we need to address certain goals. But then there is an increase in the number of goals from Millennium Development Goals to Sustainable Development Goals. So what I have planned is this class entirely we talk about the interrelationship between the people and the development, especially with the developmental goals, the fundamental requirement for people to live a quality life, etc. And in the next session, I think we have one more session in which we will more talk about environment. But however, when we revise the question papers questions from UGC NET, it comes with a combination of both people development and environment. Sometimes they give a paragraph, and then you need to read the paragraph and then answer the questions. And the paragraph will have all kinds of questions, including the environment and development aspect. So therefore, it kinds of overlaps with the second session as well. But we will try and see to segregate and understand, mostly people and development, and mainly with respect to Millennium Development Goals in this part and Sustainable Development Goals in this part. And maybe in the next session, we will look at more from little scientific, that is more on environment. How do we, safeguard? What are the, different pollutions that's happening, and how do we safeguard the planet from that, and so on. So this is essentially, the how I have planned. So, so let me uh, take it forward from here. Yeah, as you can see here, in order to understand the close linkage between development and environment, I hope by now you must have got some idea about what development I'm talking about, and of course how it is connected with environment. We have as an individual, if you take, we have physical development and mental development, social development, and so on. But when it comes to society, when society has to grow, there are economic development, political development, industrial revolution, and more of a infrastructural investment, and then even digital literacy and so on. All these are considered to be development. But when do we say something is developed? Is it goes with one word, nothing but efficiency. So when we say, for example, you have a product, let's say your mobile phone. When a new series comes, what's the change in that? You know, all you need to understand is the additional features that have come, and also it may be more efficient than the previous one in terms of memory, in terms of maybe the camera pixel has been height and so on. So there is always uh, increase in the efficiency from older to newer one. Similarly, now when we talk about development in the country for the people, it has to be an improved conditions of living. So obviously, the villages which never had roads will get road when you draw a plan of 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, or some larger goals at the world level. And definitely the many international bodies like UNESCO, UNICEF, UN, UNDP, and UNEP, IUCN, all these will contribute, and also sole members in the society like NGOs also will contribute, and the local government will also participate in bringing the development, not only in villages, in urban areas, and so on. So, for example, if you look at some of you are from India, and especially metro cities, some of you are Bangalore, Delhi, Kolkata, and so on. So, when you look at the development, what do you see? What we see in Bangalore is, I can just tell you, the more number of flyovers and underpasses being built, and that's again efficiency, because we need people to the transportation to occur very speedy manner, so that we save time there, and there is a growth. And once there is a time is being saved, and the products are being delivered on time, and supplied, imported, exported, etc., there is a income growth. So that's the growth in economy and so on. So this is how you need to understand why we need to bring in efficiency. And similarly, you would have seen people buy vehicles. Earlier we had two-stroke engines for motorbike. Nowadays four-stroke engine. This is a development. And what's the difference is the exhaust that used to come out in two-stroke with the oil mix is very harmful to the environment. But now the four-stroke, and also later on, with nowadays with the gas, right? We also ride cars and auto rickshaws and many things using gas, CNG, and so on. So, which is again more, release less pollute, make the environment less pollute. So that's the development, right? So when we talk about development, it has to be more efficient, without wasting much time and energy. We should get the product what we need, and also for the human comfort and for the quality of life. So that's what development is all about. And you take it any field, everywhere there is a growth and development constantly going on. There is always a new product in the market which works better than the other brands or other things. Yeah. Okay, good. There's a question here. Yeah, that's interesting. How will we differentiate the concept of development from growth in any domains? Yeah, definitely. See, for example, in human being, if you take growth is very fundamental, very physical. Growing in height, growing in thickness, etc. But when we say development in human personality, it's a brain development. You get that insight, you get that thinking capacity, you get that mental maturity. So that's the development. Similarly, in case of any commodity, for example, growth is the number of product. You know, you have a stock of rice grains, let's say, okay, and that is sufficient for 1 year, 2 year, and again you will grow. But the development is always how do you manage this further for distribution, for exporting, for importing, and also what innovative way of cultivation or growing rice paddy you have you invented from the agricultural science and research any new invention, like we can also grow rice this way, by different way of putting water or using this ground water harvesting and so on, rainwater harvesting and so on, and creating water tables, the water wells. I think that's one of the biggest project. If you look at UNESCO's, in the villages, if you go, they are creating their own big, deep pits in which the rainwater being stored, and then they are using it for cultivation. Which so those concepts weren't there before. So that's how the development differs from the growth. Growth is, usually understood as growing in terms of number, thickness, height, etc. But development is always in terms of efficiency. You create an efficient system to get a better product in a less time and also better yield. That's about the development. Hope I answered your question, Rashmi. Well, thank you for that question.
So that means growth can be measured in terms of quantity and development in quality. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, even efficiency, we sometimes can be quantified. Exactly, you are right.
Okay.
That's more of a quantity and quality. Yeah, you are right. That's right. Yes. Anybody else? Any question? You need to understand this basic, relationship with people and growth and development and environment, because that is where we are all situated with. And yeah, some of the important events that will help you to crack this exam first. Okay, if there are no further questions, yeah, let me tell you your some of the international bodies that were in thinking about how do we save the world, how do we save the planet, and so on. So the first move in 1987, our common future, it's published in 1987, and which first time talked about sustainable development. And mostly the discussion then was you know the agriculture, the diversion of water courses. Like you must have been remembering, we have whenever we had issues of water in India, there were times the government has thought about connecting all the rivers from north to south, so that the water is circulated cyclically and it's available everywhere, and it should not be the property of one state, like okay, Kaveri belongs to Karnataka or Tamil Nadu. It should not be like that. All these things should be connected. So that's how the diversion of water courses and creating more water resources and so on. And the extraction of minerals, they talked about. And in India, mostly what's happening is, many of the minerals like iron ores and many other minerals are being exported, and they are sent outside. They're sold at a cheaper rate to the foreign countries, where they take the raw materials from us and prepare a better product and sell it to again at a more more higher rates to different countries in the world. And so how do we extract, and what are the different extraction methods? What are the efficient extraction methods, and do we need to export them, or do we need to create product within India? You must have seen China, right? Take any product in India. We have a China. This is a China model, this is a India, or this is US, and so on, right? How China was able to get into every kind of product. Whatever you take, there is a Chinese model available, which is cheaper because they buy on, and also they have these minerals and so on. They buy at a cheaper rate and make this, and in a very large quantity. So that's how they were able to, you know, being thickly populated. Also, we can see the huge difference between India and China. So the emission of heat and noxious gases into the atmosphere were considered very seriously, because the global warming, and then we don't know in the future, if the temperature rises, there is a variation, and sometimes Earth may not be, be a suitable dwelling place for human beings if we keep, if we don't control our requirements and stop releasing these noxious gases into atmosphere, we will definitely get into problem. And who is thinking about it? If everybody is being selfish and just trying to utilize what is available on the earth, and we are all just trying to lead a quality life, then who is going to safeguard this planet? So that is where the UN and the bigger committees were formed to, help the planet and stop all these, the pollution control boards and so on, to help the people live in a more comfortable and safe. And also at the same time, what do we give to the next generation, right? If only we use everything, then what will the next generation use? So keeping that in mind, the boards, bodies which came up, we have to lay some, strict rules uh, in order to protect the planet and to leave the existing generation comfortably, and also to help the future generation in a better way. So commercial forests, the genetic manipulation, you must have seen what's happening with respect to biochemistry and industries, and genetic manipulations that are happening in the world. With be it even take it even from the vegetables, and how it is happening. Then so all these were discussed, and then the especially the bodies like UNEP, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, IUCN, and yeah, United Nations Environment Program, then World Wildlife Fund, and so on. have come together, have had repeated events in order to create this awareness to the people about how to protect the environment, how to conserve the nature, and also how to take it forward. So you would have seen, in many already we, from years, we have already taken up, plant. We need to everybody in every, almost in every places, we encourage people to plant more and cut less trees and so on. But in spite of that, some countries, some urban areas where they are going for constructions like metro and so on. Even in Bangalore, you would have seen, they have cut a series of plants on double roads just to have a metro lane going by. And there were people who fought for it and tried to protect, but nothing happened. But at the same time, whereas the world bodies and even including India, we're all saying we have to protect. But is it really happening practically? That we need to look at. Yes, that's why these exams will have these questions so that you are all aware of these things, and then when you clear these courses, you become responsible person again, being a teacher or whatever, and then you keep conveying people these things so that they take care of the planet. Yeah. Okay, moving forward. Well, let's see now. Um, some of the important dimensions of sustainable development. So one of the important dimension is social dimension. And what's happening with the social dimension? There are again three important aspects when we are going to discuss on social dimension. Workers' health and safety. You know, how are we protecting our workers? What are the safety measures that are being taken in the workplaces, and do we have health safety for them? You would have heard and seen in the TV news and so on. There's a metro construction and somebody fell down, the worker fell down and dies. The events like this, lots of mishaps happening this way, and there are people working in an underground mine system, and then the mine collapses and everybody dies, and big construction works happening, the building collapses at the construction stage and people being killed. So who is responsible for all these, and who is going to pay for them, pay for their family? How will they raise their family? We need to really think about it. So that is where, with respect to workers' health and safety, again, what government did, looking into this aspect, is they try to introduce health policies, and compulsory the employers must give the health insurances, and the medical policies are to be enforced in any workplace, in any employment place, so that people can live safely in the workplaces. And also safety measures in some of the hazardous work where people are working with nuclear reactors, or let's say people working with crackers, making the crackers. They are all prone to, and people working in chemical industries, for example. I'm not just talking about those. Even safety is also with respect to people, who work in high-rise mountain stations, and very heavy sunlight, where they have to do their mining work and so on. There are lots of, and not just those, even for white collars job, there is a need for safety. That is why there are so many fundings that have come, and like Provident Fund, they cut the gratuity and so on. These are all safety measures for people to live. And in social dimension, that's one of the important tasks that we took, keeping sustainable development goals in mind. Impact on local communities and quality of life. Yeah. And what is happening in the local community? Are we all living comfortably, happily? Are we have enough freedom to go out? and live and do what we need, buy certain things, etc. Like the impact on local communities. Sometimes, there are certain uh, elements in the society, which can create problem even for living, right? Living togetherness and the quality of life the people can live. There are no products reaching to particular, there is no bus, for example. There's an interior village, there is no bus, there is no school. How do we go? Where do we go? Right? There is no bridges, there is a water, and so on. So all this comes under social dimensions. And what benefits that the world should give to the disadvantaged groups, like the group of people who live in the tribal area and so on. Yeah, I'm not going for too much theory here. I'll just try to complete as quickly as possible. We take more questions, then only you will realize what kind of questions will come into the examination. So let me quickly take you through economic dimensions. So creation of new markets, you know, it's always there. And, especially with respect to sustainable and millennium goals, there are so many videos, if you look at YouTube or news available, that people who are buying, for example, um, people who are living at the seashore and catching these fishes, they are literally working as a slaves, and middle person is buying those in bulk at a lesser than market price, and sell it at the higher price, and the middle person gets more profit than the actual worker. So that's how there is a new markets needs to be created. Then what they did is these workers came together and created their own circle of their own institute they created, and then they themselves can directly sell to the industries, avoiding middle persons and so on. So these are all certain economic new markets creation can happen. I'm just giving you one example like that. You need to look around and think beyond, what are the new ways of marketing techniques that's happening around the world. And for example, urban club, right? For example, for a small service that you need at home, you just use that. So that's a new market trend which wasn't there before, right? So likewise, and also I think gift something came with gifting. You can just gift to someone through just using that card and so on. So these are all newer and efficient way of working with, and online shopping came in and so on. So all this he talks about efficiency and also a value addition to the place or to the sector. Then environmental dimension, of course, reduce the impact on human health were discussed, use of renewable raw materials like, we have to stop usage of plastics and recycle more and reuse. And plastics are converted to use to make some plastic goods and many other things, and use paper bags and so on. So these are some of the most, but largely connected to the sustainable development. Don't just think, only one person using a paper bag, will it really matters? Yes, it really matters. And you are saving of fuel in your wherever whenever you are riding at the junction, your fuel, you're turned on your engine, please turn off and so on. So these are all little, it looks little, but then it definitely contributes. Then reduced waste and elimination of toxic substances. Already I told you the vehicles have been renewed to have a better engine with a less exhaust, less poisonous exhaust. And also there are measures being taken for industries what to do, how to, treat these waste products and so on, and reuse. So these are with respect to environmental dimension. Then let's look at some of the Millennium Development Goals. So Millennium Development Goal is adopted in year 2000 in UN General Assembly, UN Millennium Summit in New York. Then major objectives were to combat poverty, hunger, disease, you know, that's why you see the polio drops and etc. I know many other diseases that are, and now especially Corona, COVID-19, all it's a world issue. So to how to combat this? So an illiteracy and environmental degradation and discrimination against women in not in many parts of the world it's there. And so how do we deal with these things have been taken up by Millennium Development Goals in the year 2000, because millennium is the new millennium is in the year 2000. And they set the uh, target as by 2015, we have to reduce these things, and we need to make an assessment at the end of 2015 to know to what extent we have reduced this. And the number of goals, that were created in Millennium Development was 8 goals were created. And let's see what are those 8 goals. Yes. So this is very important for you, keeping the examination in mind. Goal number one, eradicate extreme poverty and hunger and achieve universal primary education. UAE we call sometimes in the literature of education, but however, universal primary education means, everybody in the world should get primary education free of cost. At the same time, they must have access to it. It's not just the availability. They must have access to it. So actually under this plan, if you go deeper and look in, for every 1 kilometer, there has to be a primary school, and people around that living within that 1 kilometer must go to that primary school and get educated. But is it happening? Is it not happening? What about the migrant workers? Who are traveling from place to place, wherever the construction begins, they just move. So even there, there are other educational provisions, tent school and so on were made. But achieving primary education by all the individual in the world as a goal they have taken. And it's not easy, It's very easy to write this way, but then it's not easy to really make it happen. Then promote gender equality and empower women was the third major aim taken by the Millennium Goal. Then reduce child mortality. The children were put at risk, and female infanticide and so on were happening all over the world. So how do we protect this? And also because of the infections, there is no vaccines. There are no vaccines available to certain parts of the country of the world where vaccines cannot reach. They live in a very interior place, and still the local government there have not made any arrangement to reach out to those areas and to treat them. So therefore there is a mortality. So improve maternal health. Yes, this is especially UNESCO, takes care of these two, especially with respect to child and maternal health. How do we, give them good food and so on, nutritional food and so on. And combating HIV and AIDS as another, malaria and other diseases as a major goal. And then the seventh goal is ensure environmental sustainability. How do we sustain this environment for the future generation and so on? And develop a global partnership for development. So it's not just each country alone try to come up, but to have more encouraging more and more global partnership. And it is happening. For example, there are many countries who have their own tie-ups. You must have seen Modi going around to different countries to have some tie-ups and so on for the development sake. Yeah. And yeah, that's being it. So these are the major goals, major 8 goals taken up by Millennium Goals. And then from 2000 to 2015 was a deadline given. And then they found out in year 2000 how much of these were existent. And then after 15 years, they again measured and how much of this is, reduced. And then they laid another new plan, as I told you, sustainable development goals, which has more than 8. I think it has 17 goals. However, hope you are clear about these 8 goals. So let's try what is the output of at the end of 2015, like I told you. So more than 1 billion people were lifted out of extreme poverty since 1990 by this Millennium Development Goal. Um, so they were safeguarded. Then child mortality dropped by more than half by 2015, and which is since 1990. If you look at, like I told you, there was a beginning test and then the end test, the end measurements. The number of out of school children has dropped by more than half. So that means the children are getting access to education. There are schools, establishment of schools, and also reduction of child labor. And people are made aware that education is important. So let the children go to school. So these are the bigger goals, which is not easy, as I mentioned. And HIV and AIDS infections fell almost by 40%. So these are the major achievements of Millennium Development Goal. Okay. So I think I have given enough theory now. I know this, unlike the teaching aptitude, this is more of a theory, but of course very important for the nation and for the world. Okay, let's take some questions. I think I've discussed enough until now. So let's take some questions on Millennium Development Goals specifically. Okay, so if you have any questions. Okay. No. Yeah, you can answer in the chat. In which year Millennium Development Goals were adopted? Yes, Muskan, Rashmi, Palak, all are correct. It's B, year 2000. Good. So you all heard me, that means. Okay, let me give you the next question. Which report defined sustainable development for the first time? Is it Agenda 21? Okay, many of you are typing C there. So our common future, yes, that's correct. So that was a report, the first time they talked about sustainable development goal. Very good. So let me ask you one next question. Which of the following is not a Millennium Development Goal? Reducing child mortality, combating HIV, improving digital literacy, none of the above. Yes, exactly. Improving digital literacy was not considered under Millennium Development Goals, but of course, later on in the sustainable development, we do have some part for digital literacy, and the digital divide happened all over the world. And especially in India, the digital divide index is too high. People are not aware of the digital communication, but then the government has all these apps and the dealings through electronic media, but the villagers are not aware, they don't understand, then so that's the digital divide index is going high. Okay, good. Yes, next question. How many goals did Millennium Development Goals have? Is it 7, 17, 9? Okay, many of you rightly put up as D because we had, how many goals we had actually? Yeah, exactly. Tina, it was 8 goals, 8 major goals that the UN has put up as Millennium Development Goals, and it's not available in this option. So therefore, it's none of the above. Very good. Okay, what about this? Millennium Development Goals were supposed to be achieved by when? Yes, that's right, perfectly. 2015, those 8 goals were planned and then they were given 15 years of time to enhance. And there were events regarding this all over the world and country-wise, they formed committees and, autonomous bodies to look at these. And then the governments of respective countries have to report, and of course, you saw some major achievements there. So it was 15 years timeline. That's perfectly correct. Good. Okay. Okay. If there are no questions on Millennium Development Goals, we can discuss on the next setup, that is Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. In short form, we call Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. And there are 17 goals, for your information. Yeah. So shall we begin that discussion now? Or you need a break? I think it's only 5:42. You need a break, or I didn't get you. Or should we continue discussing on that? Yeah, great. We will continue discussing and then maybe we'll take a break and then take a test. Yes. Yeah, sure. So yeah, I was talking about the SDGs. There are 17 sustainable development goals, and especially, it's a transition. The millennium goals are being transitioned to sustainable development goals, because at the end of 15 years, we saw some developments. Of course, there is some efficiency, the school dropout being reduced, HIV/AIDS being reduced, and so on. And governments, again, UN and other countries have come together to think about what's happening in the world now, what to do. So then they came up with 17 sustainable development goals. And for your information, Christ University is submitting the data. There is an organization, Times, you must have heard, or I'm not sure whether you have heard. There is a Times ranking being given to the universities in the world who have, who are contributing towards sustainable goals. These 17 sustainable goals. If university is contributing to these goals through education in their respective universities, then the Times has come up with the data. In the world, the universities which have contributed towards these 17 sustainable goals, and then they started allotting ranks. Like, this is a university which worked on all the 17 goals and stood number 1, number 2, number 3, like that. And for your information, why I'm telling this, I'm the at Christ University, I'm one of the members for the Sustainable Development Goals Times Ranking Assessment. And we are submitting this document for the last year. And for your information, since 2018, Christ University has got 101, I think, in all the universities in the world, whichever Times has taken for assessment. We have ranked 101 in the world ranking for taking effort in creating awareness and some events regarding 17 sustainable goals, just for your information. Okay. Okay, moving forward, what is this sustainable development goals? Let's see. Yeah. So it's adopted, as I told you, it's in transition to the Millennium Goal. It's adopted in 2015 by UN General Assembly and also known as the 2030 Agenda. It's very important to know. It's also known as 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And it was a universal agreement, remember, to end poverty and craft an equal, just, and secure world for people, planet, and prosperity. So this was a universal decision and the universal agreement to end the poverty and also to come up with ideas which there is a equality in the world, there is a justice, and there is a security of people, and no countries fight, and then there's another world war begins, and then people are under trouble and so on. This being one of the goals there, and and this timeline again is another 15 years. So by 2030, we are planning to see these developments. And as I said, there are events being happening all over the world. And like I told you, this times ranking is just the assessment that's happening. But then events all over the world are having towards these goals, and they're recorded and they will be assessed at the end of 2030. So the number of goals included in Millennium Development was 17. Okay. There are 17 goals, and which are those goals? Let's look at them now. And before looking at the 17 goals, there is something called 5 P's of sustainable development. There are 5 P. What are those 5 P? The number one, first P is planet. Protect our planet's natural resources and climate for future generation. That's why the very name, from millennium development to sustainable development, where we need to sustain the resources for the future generation. Okay, so that's the first P, to safeguard the planet, all the natural resources, and the climate as it is for the future generation. We cannot just leave this planet with a more, more warm or some other conditions because of the global warming and so on, without caring the reasons, for this carbon content and so on. Then people, the next P is people. End poverty and hunger in all forms and ensure dignity and equality. Throughout the world, it's not just for India. Imagine this, it has to be throughout the world. So ending poverty and hunger. There are countries where people just have one in a day, only one time food. There's no food. So, but now, as all the countries in the world coming together need to think about what can we do for these countries, and how do we ensure everybody gets at least 3 meals a day and so on, is a major challenge. And prosperity, ensure prosperous and fulfilling lives in harmony with nature, which is just not there. You can see in India, especially the country of contrast, we can say, because you see a big apartment, a lavish luxury apartment, next to it there is a slum, and people are dying without food, and there is a lavish party going on in the apartment, right? So that's why India is a country of contrast, I say. And yeah, what can you people do for prosper? How do we prosper everybody in the world? As a people, and we need to understand and contribute towards it. Then peace, foster peaceful, just and inclusive societies. Right? You can see here and there are small fights happening, and now China's apps are being banned, and the COVID and so on. There's a disturbance in the peace, right? Then the UN people will come in and see what's happening, and there is terrorism on the other hand, and so on. So all this is one of the sustainable development goal where people should work towards the peace of the entire planet. There should not be any fight. There's terrorism should go, and we need to address their issues and give them what they want. Then when they keep killing people and bombing cities and so on. Then partnership. Implement the agenda through a solid global partnership is a major thing. That's the last P. So 5 P's of sustainable development for any country is to look at the planet preservation, look at your people, then each country looks after, then the whole world will be all right. Planet, people, prosperity, peace, partnership. Okay, 5 P's, and it's very important you have to remember this. Planet, people, prosperity, peace, partnership. Okay, so let me move on for the 17 goals then. Yes, here are the 17 goals of sustainable development. And as you can see here, first one, no poverty. Just remember, then I will go horizontally, zero hunger. Yeah, here's the second one. No one should be starving in the world. We have to give them the food. Then good health and well-being, very important now, especially with the COVID. People are not being healthy, and how do we? That's why you would have seen the newer hospitals, specialized hospitals being built, and facilities were made in order to safeguard the health of the people. And the governments have announced packages and policies to help them economically and so on. Then quality education, of course, is one of the goal. And you can see, these days, you would have seen in COVID time, the MOOC courses were being free for some time. And, and usually the MOOC courses gives you the best, materials. So gone are the days where, people used to hide what they discovered or what they wrote the best. Now it's all available on the World Wide Web, and you have journals which releases the latest, and everybody has access to all kinds of education. So therefore, the quality of education is gradually becoming, almost on par all over the world, almost same gradually. But unless you make an effort, it will not happen. You take some special effort to bring that quality. Then, gender equality. Yes, this is, of course, some countries it's more, some countries it's less. And yeah, each country must fight for this. And at the same time, the SDG will definitely look at how do we, make this gender equality and so on, and how many women leader we have, and what kind of reservations being given for, male and female in different sectors of the country at different levels of the governments and so on. Clean water and sanitation, of course, you must have seen usually UNESCO goes all over the world to check what's happening with the clean water and sanitation. If not, they are having certain projects to create these facilities at the village level and many all over. So clean water and sanitation, major thing, which is of course even in India, if you look at even metro cities are having problem with clean water and sanitation, which is very unbecoming of it, because this they call metro city and there's no clean water and sanitation. So So that's why this become very important goal for the entire planet. Then affordable and clean energy, right? Affordable and clean energy, right? People are have to be affordable. I think you must have seen from PM's Yojana, there are people, even in the remotest part of India, they got these LPG connections. You must have seen in the news, and they were able to, cook easily now because they used to burn timbers, which is again releasing exhaust gases, and there's nobody to turn to. How do they solve their problems? And also it is affordable, with the cards like Aadhaar and below poverty line ration cards and so on. It's made available. In India, I'm talking about, but same is the case in the world. Different countries have their own different policies in order to make the energy available, be it electrical energy or fuel or energies for cooking and so on. It's all made available and lots of imports, exports being going on, but yet it has to become zero. Everyone should be able to afford and have a clean energy. But at the same time, you see some of the cities are still suffering from there is no electricity and there is a power cut. There is a, during exam time, especially in summer times, you will see those countries which are dependent on hydroelectric power will have the power cuts because there's no water and so on, right? But they can, the UN, these countries can come together and plan, okay, which is the country which needs power, which is not having power because of the particular type of power they generate. So what can we do for this? Can we give them the different kinds of power generation industries and so on? So those are the larger plans they make, and also to utilize the solar energy and nuclear energy and so on. Then decent work and economic growth. Of course, this is again a very tough goal because not everybody, and now because of COVID-19, people who had job also they lost their job. And what about decent work? Decent work is at least they should earn their salary to sustain their family and themselves comfortably. That's decent work. And also the economic growth at the same time. You would have seen, now because of the COVID, so many industries and many sectors have closed down and also had less number of people working. So there's less efficiency, less number of product being produced. There's a complete downfall of economic growth. But then we have to recover. Everybody has to recover now because of this. Then industry, innovation, and infrastructure, right? So, there is a need for industries, more and more industries to come. So people are offering, giving offers. India is giving offers to different other countries to come and open their shops and open their industries here. And that's needed for, more and more need to happen for India and also in different parts of the world. And innovations and infrastructural development, like I told you, be it transportation, be it flyovers, underpasses, reservoirs, and so on. These are very important infrastructure. Especially transport is one of the important infrastructure because you can reach out to people only through transportation. For many days we had cut down the flights to different countries, and later on, gradually in the unlock, you must have seen we unlocked goods. The goods carriers flights were allowed in the first place because there is give and take between the countries, and definitely we need to look at that. Then reducing inequality. Yes, it's again a very big challenge where we have inequalities in different ways in different countries. And some places it's a racism, and some places it's a reservation policies. which are there but it's not active, but somewhere the reservation policies are not going the way it should go, and there are rich people getting richer, and I told you the contrast of India, right? So how do we reduce this inequality? When the inequality is reduced, then people feel they are all same and they live more happily and there is a quality of life. That's why the sustainable development goal is looking at reducing inequality. Otherwise, some person having a lot of money, like in India, we have people like Ambani, and there are people who are barely have one time food per day. So you see the inequality. Then sustainable cities and communities. Yeah, the cities which can sustain for longer, which has good water resource, good power resource, and good agricultural land to grow, and then they can sustain on their own. Are we having cities like that? Are we creating cities like that? And there is a need for creating such cities in the world. It's not just living with what they have, what is there naturally available there, but also by making some effort to make all cities self-sustainable, by growing whatever little vegetables, etc., in the near surrounding. Otherwise, you know, we have to make an effort. It's possible. If you just don't make it, then it's always, you can't wait for somebody to export or import for you. So that's what being the major goal. Then responsible consumption and production. Yeah, responsible consumption and production. You see, you have to study, the economist has to study the demand and supply, and accordingly they need to produce the product. And if you are just producing and nobody is consuming it, it's a problem. At the same time, there are more consumers and there is less production, again, is a problem. So you need to have an assessment over the demand and the supply. So looking into the demand, the supply has to be made, and so that people live comfortably with whatever they wanted to access, and they will have it with them. So that is responsible consumption production. Yeah, I think we discussed now 12 goals. We have 4 more goals to go. So what we'll do, it's now 6 o'clock. I'll give you 10 minutes break now, and we'll come back. Otherwise, it's too boring to listen to only theory. Now we'll come back, discuss the remaining 5 goals, and then we go for the questions. With the questions, we are ending there. But I have lots of questions lined up for you quickly. But knowing these goals are very important. So hope that's fine. Yeah, great. Thank you, Mary and others. Yeah. So, okay, so what we do now, it's 6:04 now, right now, if you look at the internet clock, 6:04. So 10 minutes break, we'll come back 6:14. Thank you. So have a nice break. Okay, welcome back. I guess you're all there. Take a break. Okay, so we'll continue our discussion. Any questions so far? We have more exercise to do soon. Yeah, if you have any quick questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we resume our discussions. And it's a very good course content that the Step Up has developed. The Millennium Goals and Sustainable Goals. In this particular um, part of the syllabus, that is people development and the environment, as this is the important content for this when we look at the challenges in the world with respect to people, environment, and the development. Okay, so having understood the 12 sustainable goals so far, let's look at the next one, climate action. Of course, you must have heard, or if not heard, no issues. There are climate action summits happening all over the world. There are countries yearly climate action summits happens, and in this, what are the steps taken towards preserving the climate, especially from each country's, how are they managing with the industrial exhaust and the pollutions within the countries, and what steps that they've taken, and how these steps are different from the earlier plans. They are all accountable for that. So that's the climate action, and it's not just the individual countries' responsibility. At the same time, as a sustainable development, they take into account of all these reports and then suggest and help the countries, in understanding what climatic action a country can take and how to move forward. And if there are countries where there are certain exhausts or very dangerous, toxic exhausts are out, then how can they plan? How can they control? The world will intervene. So that's about the climate action, and it's a must. You all know that the health hazards and health is affected because of the change in the climate. And you must have seen even in India, Delhi especially, you must have seen how the smog being covered all over the Delhi, right? And it was very sometimes they had a very bad time, if you have noticed. And similarly in Bangalore, we had a different change in the weather, the longer rainy season and heavy sunny days and so on. So these are all because of the changes that are happening in the nature, and we are directly responsible for those changes through our exhausts from the transportations and industries and so on. Then life below water. Oh yes, what's happening now? What's happening to the life below water? You must have seen it was in the news that some part of the sea is affected in some country, and there were fishes are being dead, all the aquatic animals were affected, right? And they never knew the reason for it yet. They are checking the reason, and also these similar incidents happens in various places, of the countries of the world. And even in Bangalore, I think some, and in Karnataka, we have seen some pond being completely polluted and poisoned because of the industrial, waste released into it. And then all the fishes were dead and so on. So who is taking care of all this, and why, in spite of knowing these, and industries are not just leaving their sewages straight into the ponds and lakes and rivers. So there has to be, people are to take care of this, must, once they notice, they need to complain, they need to stop, and so on. And this is not just in India, it's been there all over the world. So in order to take care of life below water, all the aquatic animals, and there is a reduction in the dissolved oxygen on which they dwell on, and the dissolved oxygen being reduced because of the other chemicals going into the sea and the river and the ocean, the pond. So that is being one of the important, because in order to have a conducive planet for people to live in, ecosystem is very important. And to have a proper ecosystem, all kinds of animals need to live, and life below water should also survive. Then only it's a complete cycle. Then life on land, of course, we know how is the life on land and what is the temperature. Is it feasible for everybody to live life, including the animals, and how many animals are getting extinct because of the human interventions? Like you have seen, certain birds are becoming extinct and disappear from the planet, because of the human intervention. And we don't take care of them now, we are going to have very dangerous future. So these goals are made to understand what is happening with the life on land and how to preserve it, how to protect it, and what needs to be done, and so on. And of course, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Yes, this is again with the quality of life and people, and also across the countries, across the communities, religion, what's happening. If the peace is being disturbed, then everything comes to an end for people. And there has to be justice. Some countries cannot just go on dominating or testing their nuclear weapons in spite of world being telling them not to do those. You must have seen in the news, there are some countries who still test their nuclear weapons without proper, licensing, or without proper disclosures, secretly being done, and then were caught and then were punished as well. So peace, justice, and strong institutions which advocate certain issues, certain beliefs and practices, and everybody in the world has to follow that, and so on, are to be looked into. Especially in case of terrorism, and you must have heard the some issues, North Korea, South Korea, and so on. How they indoctrinate people with certain things they have to do, and so on. And of course, the 17th goal is partnership for the goals. Yeah, as what is this partnership for the goals? These 16 goals that you have, is it possible for all the countries to fight, or is it possible for all the countries in the world to take up these 16 goals and execute it individually? And if not individually, please go for partnership. Please take the support of the world. Please take the support of the neighboring countries, and together form some alliances and some partnerships, some tie-ups to eradicate these things. Okay, that's what the UN Sustainable Goals says. Go for alliances, go for partnerships for the goals. If you cannot um, look after poverty within your country, you have a problem, you have an economic problem, then go for some tie-up with the neighboring countries. You help them in some other ways, they help you, removing the hunger or poverty, etc. So there are need for countries in the world to go for more and more partnership goals. So that's what they meant. And you would have seen also on the news, There are several countries, several tie-ups and alliances happening. And again, the Prime Minister is going to different countries and looking for some kind of a tie-ups for economic growth and many other, you know, developmental activities. So hope we had discussed enough on the all the 17 goals of the sustainable development. And if there are any questions, we can definitely take. Otherwise, we will move for testing our knowledge. Any questions? Okay, great. Thank you, Tina. Okay, we are going with the question session now, having understood the relationship between the people, environment, and the development. And yeah, not much on environment, of course. And Millennium Development Goals, and having understood Sustainable Development Goals. So let's have some tests. But of course, as I told you, some of the items may also talk about environment because it comes as a paragraph in which in a UGC exam in which these concepts are together. These are not separate, though our sessions are on 2 different days with the different topics, but then I have tried and put all the related questions, but there can be some environmental questions. I think we'll give it a try, no problem. Okay. So here is a question now. Which of the following is not a part of 5P's sustainable development? Do you remember? We discussed the 5P's: planet, people, etc. Exactly. Vardhini, you are right. Rashmi, right. It's progress. We do not have progress in the 5P's, which is a very essential question. I can show you. Just look at progress is not there. Planet, people, prosperity, peace, partnership we have. Okay. But we do not have progress. But sometimes it can be confusing. Progress, oh yes, progress must be there. You may feel, right? So be careful on this. Yeah. Good. All of you have rightly answered. Well, next question. Which of the following are the sustainable development goals? We went through each one, 17 were there. Now, can you recollect? We talked about reducing inequality. Okay, some people are saying it's D. We talked about affordable and clean energy. Yes. And we talked about climate action as well. So therefore, that's the right answer. All of the above, D. Yeah, but you need to be, a little more, once again, go through those headings, those 17 headings, because now it's all of that. Or sometimes it can be similar to the previous question, like progress, something they give, and you may feel confused. But if you have understood each one deeply, there's no confusion that whether this is there or not. Okay, great. Okay, next question. Which of the following is not one of the sustainable development goals? Zero hunger, quality education, ensuring basic universal income, none of the above. C. Yes, you are right. We had quality education. We talked about, hunger has to be eradicated completely. And the third one, basic universal income. No, we had universal education in Millennium Goals. but not universal income. That's correct. So therefore, C is the right answer. Okay, what about this? How many components do sustainable development goals have? This I think I've been mentioning repeatedly, and you don't need any time to do this. But of course, you need to be careful whether it's Millennium Development Goals or Sustainable Development Goals. If it's Millennium, then 8 is also there, and if sustainable, then 17. Yes, very good. So that's the right answer is C, 17 sustainable goals. And sometimes which is the 17th one, also they can ask, the partnership goals. need to pay attention to all the 17, I mean. Okay, now having understood those, before we take up some more questions, let me give you some of the important dates, which they might ask. Okay, they might ask, uh, keeping people, development, and environment in mind. So accordingly, the first one is World Forest Day. Please remember these dates as a general knowledge. 21st March, and World Water and Sanitation Day, 22nd March, and World Resources Day, 23rd March. It's coming in sequence, 21, 22, 23. And then we have Earth Day, 22nd April. You remember, I remember, in order to celebrate Earth Day, we did turn off the power of the entire city for 1 hour, like that. There were countries who celebrated by turning off the electricity for 1 hour or 1 minute, and so on, or 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and so on. Earth Day to save the resources for the world. Then World Biodiversity Day, 22nd May. Okay. Then World Environment Day, 5th June. It's very important here. There are celebrations happening all over the world, and sometimes you are planting plants and so on. The events are happening 5th June. Then World Population Day, 11th July. So you can memorize these in the order of the financial year, like March to November. It's in the order here. Then World Wildlife Day, yeah, 6th October. 6th October. And today being the last day of October. Now see, November is coming. World Energy Conservation Day, 14th November. Okay, keeping people and environment and development in mind. These days are important dates you need to remember. Okay. Now let me take you through a few more questions. Yeah, some questions from here or sometimes on the environment, if possible, try to answer. Otherwise, I will answer it, no problem. But this is a question coming, you have only 5 questions from this part, the exam for 10 marks. Therefore, the 5 questions, searching only on people is a little tedious, but then these are all coming together there. So inside the rural homes, the source or sources of nitrogen oxide pollution may be okay, unvented gas stoves, wood stoves, kerosene heaters. Okay, there is a response. Some of you said 2, some of you are saying 4. because A, B, C, gas stove, wood stove, kerosenator, everything the house may have. Some of you said only two, second one, because B and C, that means wood stove and kerosene stove. Okay. Okay. No, the answer is four. In rural homes can also have unvented gas stoves, so it may have all the three, A, B, and C. These sources is possible. Okay, let me give you the next question. Which of the following pollutants can cause cancer in humans? Any idea? Of course, it's from the environment part. Pesticides, mercury, lead, ozone. Okay, Tina says it's one or two. Palak says it's four. Any others? Others have a doubt? Okay, some are saying four. Vardhini says three. Rashmi has a question. Yeah, Rashmi, you can speak. Okay. Yeah. We can't hear you. Okay. Palak says all of the above. Okay. The answer to this question is pesticides. First one. Number one. Okay. Usually, mercury, lead, ozone will, of course, spoil the abdominal part, but pesticides that goes in can cause cancer. Okay, great. So next question. Yeah, there is an assertion statement and there is a reason statement, and you need to match, what is what in the correct answers. People population control measures do not necessarily help in checking environmental degradation. Reason. The relationship between population growth and environmental degradation is rather complex. So choose the correct answer from the following. You're saying four? No, that's a old answer. Okay. Two is what Mary says. People are saying two. Sorry. Okay, the answer is one. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. See, people population control measures do not necessarily help in checking environmental degradation. The relationship between this population growth and are rather complex because it's not, if you look at the exact relationship, it's too far. And therefore, that's the right reason there. And so R is the correct explanation. Anyway, yeah, good. Muskan says one. Okay, let's take the next question. Which of the following phenomena is not a natural hazard? Okay, great. People are saying 4 and some are saying 2. Many are saying 4. So which is the right answer? Take the right guess. Is not a natural hazard. Yes. Wildfire, it happens in the forest on its own. Lightning, whenever it rains, it can happen. Landslide, again, during the rain or, anytime lands can slide. But chemical contamination happens, it's not a natural hazard. It happens because of the human intervention. You're all right. Yeah, Vardhini got it. Chemical contamination usually will not be a natural hazard. It happens by the human intervention. Okay, great. Next question. Yes, little economics, but then try. At present, in terms of per capita energy consumption, kilowatt hour per year, identify the correct sequence. Which is greater than which country, which is the right answer. Of course, this is a little tough, but then you can try. Energy consumption, not the money, not per capita income, per capita energy consumption, not 4. Okay, many of you are saying 4. However, let me tell you the right answer. It's option right answer is not 2, Tina, sorry. It's 3. Russia is the biggest, you know that. Russia is a huge part. And obviously their energy consumption is higher than China and then Brazil and then the last India. Okay. So third one, of course, it's a tough one, don't worry. But just remember, locate all these countries in the map, in the world map, you will know Russia, the bigger part, than the China, Brazil, India. Of course, in between Brazil and India, you have to go India at the last because we do not have much of the energy sources. Power cuts, even in Bangalore, power cuts are there. Even in metro cities, power cuts are there. Okay, I guess you got it. So next question. This we studied. Sustainable development goals have specific target to be achieved by when? Exactly. Good. I'm happy all of you are on spot. It's 2030. You remember the timeline we studied. And for your information, this has come in. This is a question from the UGC exam. Great. Next question. Indian government's target of producing power from biomass by the year 2022 is how many megawatts? Indian government target. Any idea? Biomass. Because we are short of third one, 15 megawatts. 10.3. Are you giving 10.3 or third one you are saying? 10th question, third one you are saying. Okay, yeah, third, no. Okay, anyway, it's tough. Yeah, not second, just a guess. Okay, got it. Okay, let me tell you, it's fourth option, 10 megawatts. See, with biomass, you cannot produce such a higher level. Of course, we have hydroelectric power and nuclear power plants and thermal plants and solar plants. Beyond all this, now the government is also planning to develop biomass, using biomass to produce the power. So, and plan is to develop at least up to 10 megawatts of electrical energy. Okay, good. So it's a good attempt, don't worry. But remember this, I told you different kinds of energy sources, and then the biomass one, the plan is up to 10 megawatts, remember. Okay. Next question. In which country the recent international agreement on phasing out hydrofluorocarbons was signed? This is very dangerous for the health. So therefore, it has to be phased out. And where did we sign this agreement? Okay, Vardini says Rwanda. Yeah, that's the correct answer. Rashmi, yes, you're right. Mary too. It's the first option first, not Morocco, not South Africa, not Algeria. Good. So we'll go for the next question. So there is an assertion and the reason. And this can be tricky, similar to the last one. Just take care. In urban areas, smog episodes occur frequently in winters. Yeah, like I told you the Delhi example. In winters, a lot of biomass is burned by people for heating purposes or to keep themselves warm. Is it because of that it's coming? You have to choose the correct answer. Two? Yeah. Yes, you are all right. Tina, no, not three. But the right answer is second one. Both A and R are reasoning and assertion are true, but the reason is not the correct explanation. Okay, you shouldn't go for A is true, R is false. You should see to what extent all the responses are, differing. So don't go for three. Okay. What is biomass? Biomass is like from the environment. We collect these leaves and like the biogas you produce in the villages with the cow dung and so on. So similarly, the biomass is the environmental waste putting together to produce energy. Okay, that's biomass. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So hope you got it. Next question. Among the following fuels of energy, which is the most environmental friendly? Yes. Try this one. It's a good one. And you need to know. Biogas. Among the following fuels of energy, which is the most environment friendly? Okay, Tina says 4. Okay, Tina again says 3, the guess. CNG, most of you are thinking of CNG. Of course, CNG is better than petrol and diesel, okay, in terms environmental friendly, but not as friendly as ethanol. No, ethanol is alcohol. No, the product will be the carbon and so on. Yeah, 4, that's right, Vardini. Hydrogen, when hydrogen is used as a fuel, when you burn hydrogen, carbon won't come. So obviously environment friendly. But why are we not using, hydrogen is a very explosive substance. And if you use hydrogen fuel, anytime the vehicles can explode due to frictions and many things. And it is like the hydrogen bomb, the severity of the explode is so huge that around 3 meters of area will be damaged and people won't survive. That's why we are not using hydrogen as a fuel, but it is being tested in countries like Germany and so on. It is just like the, one injection. They are just giving the cars an injection, and it can give lots of mileage without any hazardous output or exhaust gas, hazardous exhaust gas, but it can be very dangerous. Yes, remember this. Okay, they can also ask which is the highly explosive, fuel. Hydrogen is the right answer again in that question. Okay, in case they ask you. Okay, so hope that makes sense. The next question. Which of the following types of natural disasters has no definite beginning and end? Muskan says 4. What about others? Beginning and end will not be there. And it's natural. 1, earthquake. Earthquake can be measured using, seismography. Seismograph will tell you when the earthquake can happen. There's a beginning, there is an end. Yeah, you're all right. 4, hurricane also, there is a weather prediction. Hurricanes come, there is a less pressure and so on. So droughts, yes, we can't predict because when there is no rain and continuously we don't know anything, then droughts. And when it will go, we do not know. Yeah, exactly, Vardini. We do not know when it will rain again. People are just waiting. I think we had experienced this just 2, 3 years back. There was a completely, we are drained out, no water and stuff like that. Yeah, that's right. Great. Okay, next question. Yeah, exactly. Karnataka had it. Exactly. You're right. Okay, next question. Which of the following is considered as major source of pollution in rivers of India? Think about now Ganga and okay. Most of you went for second option. That's the right answer. Untreated sewage. They're just leaving it to the rivers and spoiling it. Agricultural runoff are very less, and their pesticides, of course, are there, but then not so much as this. The sewage, everywhere sewage is just turned to rivers. It's very bad and not being treated. That's right. Okay, next question. More productive employment demands what? Productive employment. They demand what? Productive employment means, they develop in a large scale some products and also very efficient. Rashmi says not one, I think two. Okay. Okay, you have varied understanding on this. Let me tell you, more productive employment demands, like, which is efficient, is the use of technology, the second one. Because, if you want to be more productive, even in educational institutions, if you want to be more productive, we have your salary things are taken care by the computers and your classes are being held online. More efficiency is there. If you do not have all these, you have to manually, some clerks have to write down salary bills and so on. So in any company, any productivity, technology is the best. Limit employment. Now yeah, that's correct, Vardhini, that limits employment. That can be also a question. That's a very good understanding of yours. I appreciate that. But here the question is productivity at employment. More productive employment demands technology is needed. Okay, because the technology can do multiple things at once and can replace many people, as I said. So therefore, productivity is more. That's correct. You limit. Yeah, that's correct. But you have to understand that difference. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes there can be question, which limits employment, for example. Then obviously the technology, because a computer can do multiple work, or some technology can do multiple tasks, and we don't need 2-3 human resources to do the same task. That's right. Okay, next question. Introducing, this is people question. Read this, is interesting. Introducing Rakesh to her husband, a woman said, his brother's father is the only son of my grandfather. The woman is related to Rakesh as what? The relationship. Okay, Vardhini is still in the last question. Okay, done. Answer is D. Mother. Somebody is saying sister. Mother. Not at mother, sister. Mother, sister. Yeah, that's right answer, sister. Fourth one. Okay, let me take the next question. What's the population of the country, India, in the year 2014 in terms of millions? Yeah, you need to remember for now 2020, at least last 6 to 10 years population. You must remember year-wise how many millions 2014. And also the latest population, you must remember. Okay, what's the answer here? Hello? 2. No.
Hi, sir, Ashish here.
Yes, sir. We are
Yes,
done. This is the last question.
Okay, no problem.
You have another class following this?
No, I was just looking at the question and I was wondering, like, typically these questions are more current in nature, right? So they'll typically, I know this could have been asked probably in previous years. So it says population or something else. I mean, sorry, I'm
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, but
So,
typically these questions are current. So I think even when they ask questions, right, in terms of I think pollution or anything for that matter, because in previous year UGC net papers they may be, so for example in 2015 they could ask for 2014, but typically for example in 2020 they would,
19.
for 2021 they would ask for the previous year. They will not typically ask, right, 2014. I'm just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. That's why at least last 5 years, if we know, will be helpful. Of course, the immediate previous one is very important.
that's correct, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So the fourth one is the right answer, but of course, don't too much, mug up so many facts because it's not easy to remember this, as sir said. So I think it's 7 o'clock. Of course, I have a few more questions lined up, but then we will take it up in the next session probably. I hope you were able to understand today's class on Millennium Developments and the Sustainable Goals and the relationship of people, community, development, and the environment. And yeah, more specifically on the environment in the next session we will do. Yeah. So any questions before we close? I think it's 7 to already 2 minutes we passed.
Uh, so
Yeah.
if you don't mind, I run a small poll quickly
Yeah. Yeah. Sure,
for
sir.
everybody. Yeah. So let me launch this poll for everyone. And sir, thank you so much for taking this session. And I think this particular topic is pretty broad. This one unit,
Yeah.
because it has so many things, right? But I think the idea of the session is to just give you all direction and give you all an idea of the kind of questions that are asked in previous year UGC net papers.
Yeah.
But people need to remember, like for example COVID, for example, I'm sure you can expect some questions around that, right, in this
Mm.
particular unit, definitely in the next UGC net. And similarly things that are more current, right, in terms of it could be global warming, it could be pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to know the syllabus. But yeah, thank you so much for the class. So let me launch the poll for everybody. If
Sure.
everybody can
Sure.
take
I
30
agree.
seconds
Yeah.
to please attempt it. Did you all get the option? Okay, so I think 4 people have responded. The others have not yet responded. So I guess that's okay. Okay, great. So I just wanted to get a sense of how things are going, but most importantly, I want to wish everybody all the best, and and please utilize this holiday season especially, because I think even tomorrow we don't have a session. So make sure all of you are investing time in studying and doing some self study for all the units that has been touched upon or we've already finished the syllabus for. Okay, sir. Thank you for your time.
Okay, sir.
Thank you
Thank
everybody
you.
for attending. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thanks a
See you
lot.
next time. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Bye
Bye.
bye.
ಮುಗಿತಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ.